News Talk 94.5 WPTI, 96.7 FM WTOB. You're listening to the Wealth Guardians radio show with Doug Ray, helping you to retire the job, but keep that paycheck. I'm your host, Doug Ray, and with me this morning, again, ably working out the board is Mr. Brice Payne. Hey, Brice.
Good morning, Doug. You recovering?
I'm trying to.
Not the greatest weekend last week for either of our teams.
I have been so close to having one of my 3P weekends, but what team out there just tears my heart out?
Panthers?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, the Panthers.
And that Bronco finish last weekend with the Colts missing the field goal for the Broncos to win at the last second, and then they called it back because of launching. When was the last time we saw that penalty called? And they did make it. Anyway, we're not here to cry over spilled milk. We're here to set people.
I'm going to cry.
All right. Well, we'll put that on pause for 30 minutes here until we're through with the radio show, and then you and I can go back to frying.
Okay.
Anyway, we hope everybody out there, we hope your teams won last weekend and will win this weekend as well. We've got a couple of what we've done is fabricated a couple of listener questions here. These are not authentic listener questions, but we think these are questions that are relevant and that you might be asking in the back of your head, or that many people do anyway. So we're going to go over two fabricated questions and the answers from holistic financial professionals on what one should do in planning for retirement under those scenarios. Doug, let's do a quick shout out, if you would, please, to our men and women service members.
Absolutely. Always at the start of this show, we want to thank all of our service members and our first responders, and of course their families and the veterans out there. We appreciate what you do. We know it's tough. It's time consuming. Takes you away from your family. But we love you and we thank you.
And it's oftentimes an unrecognized sacrifice that everyone out there who puts on the uniform does. And we just want to take a moment here at the Wealth Guardians, like we do every weekend, and just extend our sincere thank you to you and your family for your sacrifices. And another thing that we do here, Doug, once in the morning before we get started on the meat and potatoes of the show, is ask ourselves a question so that everyone out there can better get to know their Wealth Guardians financial planner, just to give everyone an idea that we're real people just like them. And here's the question I'm going to ask you, Doug, and then I'll answer as well. What is the coolest vehicle you have owned?
The coolest. Okay, that's a broad definition.
All right. Well, in your mind, what would be the coolest?
I'd have to say I gave myself a present a couple years ago and got a 2003 Corvette.
Uh-huh.
That's the 50th anniversary edition.
Yes.
Convertible, 6-speed, 350. That's probably the coolest car I've ever owned.
Corvettes have traditionally been a very cool car. I've seen you bring it into work a few times. It's very nice. You haven't brought it in this year, though, I don't think. Have you?
No, I haven't. I've got to do that now that the fall is here.
Yeah.
And the weather's great. So yeah. Tops down.
Got to show it off. Bring it in a little bit more.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I'm going to go in an opposite direction. Actually, the coolest vehicle that I owned was getting out of college. I bought a 1972 VW van with the bubble top, not the kind that has the pop top, but the full built-on bubble top.
I can so see you in that.
I loved it, and I bought it for, I think, $2,000. I sold it for $2,000, and now you can't get one. And that was back in '98 that I sold it, '97, and you can't find one even in bad shape for less than $20,000 anymore. So anyway, yeah, that was my cool vehicle. But I do like your Corvette as well. I've always been partial to Corvettes. All right, let's go ahead and get started on this. So, two fabricated questions we're going to ask everybody out there and just kind of go over the scenario. So here it is, a question from we'll call her Mabel. Question from Mabel. My husband and I have separate bank accounts, so I don't really have a clear picture of what he spends money on, and I guess he's also in the dark about my spending habits. What is the best way for us to get a retirement plan put together so that both of our spending needs can be met? We've always had similar salaries, but in retirement, he's going to have a big pension, and I won't have one at all. So that's Mabel. Thank you for that fabricated question. Thank you. Doug, we go through probably about 50 planning processes a year here with people who come to the Wealth Guardians wanting to make sure that they're in good shape for retirement, or what do they need to do additionally to get in better shape for retirement. Now, most of the time, I'll say 90% of those cases, 9 out of 10, the couple being married, they all consider their assets for the household. Whatever his IRA is, it's both of their IRAs. Whatever her 401k is, it's both of theirs. And it's pretty easy, straightforward. Let's just add up all of your assets and figure out what kind of accounts they are: IRAs, Roths, 401ks, non-qual accounts, whatever. And then go from there, figuring out what their budget can be. But about 1 out of 10 times, the other 10%, a couple will come to us and his finances are his and her finances are hers. Most of the time this will happen because a couple got married later on in life. Maybe it's not their first marriage, it's their second marriage. And they had already gotten accustomed to having their assets and the other person having their assets. So that's what this question is pertaining to. If they keep their finances separate, how do they know that they're in good shape for retirement? Well,
yeah, like you said, it's quite common to see a second marriage, third marriage come in with separate finances. It's altogether uncommon to see a couple who've been married from day one come in and have separate finances.
That would be odd.
That is odd, and that's also very tough. It's tough for us to put it all together for them. They're so accustomed, 30 plus years of marriage, to having things separate. Mm-hmm. It's foreign. It's really a foreign concept for them to meld everything together for retirement, but you got to do it. A lot of times what we've done in the past, we created 2 different retirement plans for them. And then we have to make them understand that, especially in cases where it's going to take both couples' assets to meet their spending needs, they're going to have to figure out a plan. Who's going to pay for what?
Yes.
Now, in a lot of cases, they've already done that. She may pay for the home utility bills, things like that. He may pay the car bills, whatever.
Yeah.
And that may continue in a case like this. But it does make things a lot more difficult. But it's really nothing more than what we do all the time. And that's the bottom line, is taking chunks of assets that they've built over their working life and turning it into a retirement paycheck for them.
Yeah, so I can actually speak to this from firsthand experience because my wife and I, Belle and I, got married 3 years ago. We'd been dating for 15 years prior to that, but it was both of our second marriages. So we had, at that point, had our own separate finances. So here's what we do. We have a joint account that we each contribute into every month, a set amount every month. Now, mine's a little bit more than hers, what we put in there based on our salaries. But that's going to cover all the monthly essential spending: groceries, mortgage, car insurance, all of those things that we both benefit from basically gets paid out of that. Then we each have our own other accounts that are separate from each other. I mean, I know what she has. She knows what I have. It's not separate in the fact that it's a secret, but it's separate in that outside of that joint account, anything that I want to spend money on from my account is my choice. Anything that she wants to spend money on from her account is her choice. But that's fairly straightforward. That's easy to do. When we get into a fixed scenario, when we're retired, or when Maybelle says that, he's going to have a pension. So your sources of income, therefore, in retirement are going to be different. They probably both have Social Security, but if he's got a pension, now he's got some additional money that is his while she doesn't. So you do want to come at it from 2 different plans here. Just like you said, let's figure out what the essential spending is that you're both going to be responsible for. Or it could be divided up that he's responsible for the mortgage and she's responsible for the utilities, however you want to do it, as long as you each know what your required spending is for the household. And then we can figure out, well, based on your other assets or your other forms of income, here is his monthly spending abilities, and here's her monthly spending abilities. And that's the. Other than that, it's pretty standard from everything else, except that you do have, in a normal household where everybody has got the same accounts, then whatever his spending could be is what her spending could be, right? It's 50-50. But in a case like this, it wouldn't necessarily, maybe her budget from her assets and her income and her Social Security and retirement might be that she can spend an extra $2,000 a month. His might be that he can spend $4,000 a month.
Yeah.
And you just have to come to terms with that.
Yeah. We come into this question, you and I, from completely opposite experiences in life, because Sherry and I, from day one when we were married, we shared our finance. Everything went into one checking account.
Right.
And I can remember clearly in that first year of marriage, even probably our second year of marriage, balancing our checkbook down before payday to like 89 cents in the bank.
Yep.
You know? We were poor as church mites back then. But it's always been like that, and it still is. So when a couple comes in like this situation, to me, it's pretty strange. It's a foreign situation. Whereas to you, when they come in, oh, okay,
I get it.
I get it. This is what we do. So
no problem. I'll even let them know that. Say, hey, to you, it might seem like this is strange what you're putting in front of me, Brice, but no, I get it. I'm in the same, and I let them know that. So I know what you're trying to accomplish here. I get it. We can work through that. But here's my takeaway from this question. If you're out there and you and your spouse are getting ready for retirement and you have two separate accounts like this, I don't want you to think, well, I would normally go to a retirement specialist, but our situation is too unique. They won't be able to help us because I've got my accounts and she's got her accounts. So we'll just have to wing it on our own. That's not the case.
Right.
We here at the Wealth Guardians would be happy to sit down with you and help you navigate your slightly more complex budgeting for retirement. We will be able to make sure that whatever your retirement goals are, at least let you know whether or not that's achievable or not. And in the end, because you've got separate accounts, that is not going to be a hurdle or anything that's going to make us say, sorry, we can't help you because of the way you handle your finances. That's just not going to be the case.
Okay.
So
not at all.
Go ahead then and give us a call if that is your case and you want to sit down with a holistic financial planner and you thought you wouldn't be able to because of the way that you and your spouse manage your monies or keep your accounts separate. Not going to be a hurdle that we can't overcome whatsoever. Our phone number is 336-391-3409. You can also visit us at our website, thewealthguardians.com. We'd be happy to sit down with you and see what our expertise and our experience can help provide to better get your retirement plans in shape. All right. Well, Doug, that's our first question. There, we got to go to a second one in our second segment, but we do got to go to a break here, as we always do at this time. So here's our trivia question. Are you ready, Doug?
No,
never
am.
And here's why Doug's not ready, because of the dates. Doug, on September 20th, 1904.
Here we go again.
Wilbur Wright makes a second flight in the Kitty Hawk Flyer. Now, this was the Kitty Hawk 2. This flight, while not as historically significant perhaps as the first, it had greater practical reverberations through history. Why? What was it about the second flight that changed history more than the first?
Interesting.
Okay, stick around for the answer to that trivia question and see if we stump Doug on the other side of this short break. This is Brice Payne. With me is Doug Ray, and the show is The Wealth Guardians, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. And this is News Talk 94.5, WPTI. And this is 96.7 FM, WTOB. News Talk 94.5, WPTI. 96.7 FM, WTOB. Welcome back to the Wealth Guardians Show, where we help you retire the job and keep the paycheck. I'm Brice Payne in the Wealth Guardians studio this beautiful weekend morning with Doug Ray. And in the second segment, we're going to continue with these fabricated questions, listener questions, if you will, and see if we might be hitting the nail a little bit on the head for what your retirement situation might be, and see if we can provide you some answers for that. Now, before we answer the trivia question that we left you hanging with at the end of our last segment, let me ask you this. Are you planning to retire? Okay, hopefully the answer there is yes. Have you yet met with a retirement income certified professional who is also a fiduciary? So if the answer to that question is no, here it is. It's your official invitation. I want to invite you to take us up on a complimentary review of your current situation. As certified retirement planning specialists, we are going to put together a customized written plan with strategies for portfolio allocation, income distribution, Social Security filing, and tax efficiency, with the additional benefit of often reducing both the risk and fees of your current plan. So if you've put aside at least $400,000 and you want to take us up on this no-cost, no-obligation review, give us a call at 336-391-3409. That's 336-391-3409, or go to thewealthguardians.com. That's thewealthguardians.com to learn more. Let us show you in black and white how to retire the job and keep the paycheck. All right, Doug, I've got my buzzer ready and I've got my dinger ready here. I've got faith in you. You were in the Navy. You're a pilot. You're familiar with who Wilbur and Orville Wright are. So here's the question. September 20th, 1904, Wilbur Wright makes a second flight in the Kitty Hawk Flyer. This is the Kitty Hawk Flyer 2. Now, the first flight was about 9 months ago, December 17th, 1903. So they've been working on things for the last 9 months. And this flight, while not as historically significant perhaps as the first, it had greater practical implications through history. Why, Doug? What was it about the second flight that changed history more than the first flight did? And I know you know this.
So suppose I should know this.
I think you do.
Supposedly, I have some relation to the Wright brothers.
Oh, as do I.
Yeah, my grandmother, maiden name was Wright, and according to her, somewhere in the family was Wilbur and Orville. Now, this is probably nothing more than one of those family rumors.
Yeah,
but who knows? You got me. Hit the buzzer. I don't know what the difference was.
Well, so the first one, of course, they were looking for funds, right? They weren't doing this out of just fun. They wanted to try to make money off of this. And when they did the first flight, they went out to companies and whatnot. Hey, look what we can do. We want some funding here. This could help your business. And the response came back as like, look, that's all cool and everything, but you got a plane up in the air and it went in a straight line and it landed. That doesn't do anything for us. We can't use that. They said, now, if you can take the flight up in the air, turn it around and come back and land in the same spot, so you're actually navigating this time. You're actually deciding what you're doing, where you're going, and coming back to a designated location, not just going up in the air and coming back down on the field. Then we can use that, the company said. So for the last 9 months, they were spending time making the Kitty Hawk more navigable.
I knew that about the second flight. I didn't know that was why.
That was why, because they wanted to make money off of it. And nobody said, well, getting us up in the air and then just landing in a straight line, that doesn't do us any good.
Yeah.
You have to be able to tell the plane where we're going and actually get it there.
So they could put those banners behind the plane
and
fly over the beach.
And put the smoke up there and spell stuff out. You can't spell Happy Birthday, Doug, if it just goes in a straight line. Right. So that's what it was. The first circular flight, it took 1 minute and 16 seconds. It was the first navigated flight. And so there you go. But I knew you knew that. But in fact, I think it might have been a trivia question we'd had in the past. But I like it, so we did it again. All right, let's go ahead now and get to our second fabricated question here. These aren't real questions from listeners. These are fabricated ones that Doug and I thought, you know what? I think people would like to have a question like this answered. So here's the next one. This is a question from Ernest. And Ernest says, Doug and Brice, my neighbor retired 2 years ago and has decided that he needs to go back to work because money is too tight. I just retired last month and I think we're fine, but now I'm a little worried the same thing might happen to me. How can I make sure that I don't have to go back to work? Okay.
I can certainly see that if you've been a neighbor for, a long time, 20, 30 years, you kind of watched each other mature in your careers and that kind of thing. That probably would put a little bit of panic in your heart if you saw your neighbor
in the similar houses, driving a similar car, same age. I think, well, wait a minute.
A year later or so, having to go back to work because he's running out of money.
Yeah.
Well, right. There's a simple answer for that.
There is. There's a very simple answer for that. And tell Ernest what that simple answer is, Doug.
Yeah, come and see us, Ernest. We can show you in black and white if you're going to make it or not. And I promise you this. If the news is bad, we'll let you know. You'll see it.
Yeah, we're not miracle workers, but we're not going to hide anything from you.
Right. I'm happy to say that probably close to 100% of the retirement plans we've done for folks who've come in to see us off this radio show do work out pretty well for them. And that's because, good on them. They've done a good job of saving.
Right.
What they don't have is the plan to put it all together.
Right. Knowing it's all mathematical equations on our end. All it is just taking a look at the income that you have now up until retirement, the income that you're going to have in retirement. And, that's going to include Social Security. It might include a pension. It might include some passive income like you're a landlord. Maybe an annuity you've inherited or something. So we take a look at your income. we take a look at your assets. What have you already saved? And Doug, the reason I think such a high percentage of people who come to us are in good financial shape is because I think most people who are astute enough and wise enough to say, hey, I want to sit down with a financial planner, are also the same people who have been responsible enough to have saved for retirement through the years.
Yep.
It's not very often that somebody who's never saved a penny and says, I better go to a retirement planner to make sure I'm in okay shape. No, usually it's the people who come to us have already done the heavy lifting, but they're not sure, just like Ernest here isn't, did I do enough saving? And that's all just mathematics. So like I said, we take a look at your income that you're going to have in retirement. We take a look at the assets that you've accumulated, whether that's $500,000 or $5 million. What are those assets in? Are they in retirement accounts like 401ks and IRAs? Are they in property or real estate, brokerage accounts? Whatever your assets might be, we will add those up and figure out what kind of income you might be able to generate off of those with taking whatever amount of risk you feel comfortable taking. And then we take a look. Third and final part of the equation is the expenses. And everybody's expenses are going to be different. Ernest, just because your fabricated neighbor had to go back to work, his expenses might be very different than yours. Maybe he's putting a daughter through college, or maybe he's got a mother that he's taking care of. Who knows what it might be? Just because he's in the same neighborhood as you does not mean that his $7,000 a month budget is the same as yours. Yours might be only $5,000 a month, right? So we take a look at all of that, and we can start figuring out pretty easily if you can retire or not. And Ernest, I wish your neighbor had come to us and said, hey, Wealth Guardians, can you make sure that I'm okay to retire here? Because my neighbor Ernest is depending on me to not go back to work so that he doesn't sweat. And so Ernest, I would, as Doug said, the easiest thing for you to do is to go see a holistic financial planner. That's who we happen to be here at the Wealth Guardians. So let me give you our phone number. It's 336-391-3409. You can also visit us at our website, thewealthguardians.com. Doug, describe our 4-meeting process for Ernest just for a minute.
Well, the good news is it does not require differential equations. So you'll understand it. It'll be in plain English for you.
There you go.
But yeah, the 4-meeting process very simply is this. First meeting, obviously, get to know each other. We're asking you to bring all your statements in, tax returns, that kind of thing. Second meeting, and we've taken your data and we've kind of run it through some numbers. And we're showing you what your fees are, what your risk is in your portfolio. We take your temperature in terms of risk. How much risk can you stomach in the market? And then the third meeting, we've put it all together for you to show you in black and white on a nice little spreadsheet how we can turn your paycheck into a permanent retirement plan and do it with the money that you've accumulated over your life.
And that's basically it in a nutshell. I'll add one other thing that we do as holistic financial planners is not just see what kind of investments your portfolio should contain, what your allocation should look like. We also do some mathematics to see what we can do with your accounts to ensure that you're not paying Uncle Sam more than you otherwise have to. And that actually, going through that extra step, tax mitigation strategies, layering that on top of your portfolio allocation strategies, is also making a huge difference for a lot of our clients. That instead of paying Uncle Sam from age 60 to age 100, $1.2 million in taxes over that time period, and that's a very realistic number, by the way, it might only be $500,000. Now, that's hypothetical, but I've seen those exact numbers come through many times. And that's the second key part of the portfolio there, Doug, is portfolio allocation and tax mitigation strategies. And putting those both together, we can help hopefully you, Ernest, and anybody else out there make sure that you are in proper alignment for retirement. Doug, anything else to add before we got to go here for the weekend?
I think that's got it done.
All right. Well, unfortunately, that is all the time that we have. Thank you again for joining us on this beautiful weekend morning. We hope the rest of your weekend is everything you want it to be, and we hope that your teams win. The show is the Wealth Guardians, helping you retire the job and keep the paycheck. And this is News Talk 94.5 WPTI. And this is 96.7 FM WTOB.
Hi, it's Garrett Ray with the Wealth Guardians. Thanks so much for listening to the show. Make sure to check out our weekly series, The Vault, on YouTube. Find our channel, The Wealth Guardians, where we talk about all things retirement planning and cover new topics each week, such as Social Security, tax planning in retirement, and our thoughts on investment best practices, and much more. New episodes air Thursdays at 2 p.m. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can get notifications when we release new episodes. We're here to help you retire the job and keep that paycheck. We'll talk soon.